The Iowa State Cyclones enter 2023 coming off a tough year last season, as the Cyclones were a team that played in a lot of very close games and were on the losing end of most of them. However, when you take a look at the talent that is on this team, there's a lot coming back and a lot to like about the Cyclones moving into this year, and I think they got the right head coach for the job in Matt Campbell. Will the Iowa State Cyclones be a team that rises back towards the top of the Big 12 Conference, or it was last year no flash in the pan and they're back down towards the bottom of the Big 12 Conference in 2023? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer, and that means I'm doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when your favorite team gets a video uploaded. But there are more ways than that you can help me support my channel. Hey, you're doing one right now by watching the video. You guys can do more by liking, commenting, subscribing, and really doing anything else to help me support my channel. Whatever you guys are able to do, I greatly appreciate. Let's take a look at the Iowa State Cyclones in 2023. Hey, how do preview predictions work on my channel? Glad you asked. We look at a roster overview, look at who the team lost, who's coming back, who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 Cyclone football schedule and giving it a game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, let's talk about the Cyclones in 2023. Starting out with, of course, the most important position on the field. It is the quarterback position after all. Hunter Dekkers, your starter from last year, does come back. Now, definitely can have some improvements on his game, but I really, really like Hunter Dekkers as a quarterback for this Iowa State team. 3,044 yards, 19 touchdowns, 14 interceptions on 66% completion percentage. Leave the yards and completion percentage, maybe a little more touchdowns and a lot less interceptions, and Hunter Dekkers, very, very good quarterback for this Iowa State team. I think his ceiling is high. I think, again, last year, a young guy with a lot of inexperience, has a year under his belt, knows what he has to fix. He'll be good in 2023, is my little prediction there. And then you have a freshman coming over in J.J. Cole, 132nd player in the class of 2023, according to 24/7 Sports. He comes over from Ankeny High School in Ankeny, Iowa, 11th rated quarterback in, of course, the class of 2023. Running back room, your third leading rusher in Deion Silas is gone. However, your top two and your fourth leading rusher come back. Jarrell Brock is the mainstay guy there at 99 carries, 445 yards, 3 touchdowns last season. It was a little bit of a struggle rushing the ball for the Cyclones last season as a team, only 3.3 yards per carry. I think Jarrell Brock, though, is a very high ceiling. I like him as a running back a lot. I think he can be a guy that can explode onto the scene in 2023. Cartavius Norton is another guy I like, 312 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think he's a solid option. And Eli Sanders comes back as well. And you get a transfer coming over by way of the Stanford Cardinal. And Arlen Harris, former 4-star out of high school and a 3-star rated transfer, according to 24/7. Wide receiver room takes some big hits because Xavier Hutchinson is gone. 1,171 yards on 107 catches last year and 6 touchdowns for him last season. All 3 of those numbers led the team. In fact, almost more than doubled anyone in yards and touchdowns last season as well. When you take a look at who else leaves, Sean Shaw, 153 yards, and 2 touchdowns for him last year. But there is some good talent coming back in this wide receiver room. Your second and third leading rushers in Jalen Noel and Dimitri Stanley do come back. And then really pick someone to be that third leading receiver. Greg Gaines is the name I ended up putting down, but you can pick a lot more names from this Iowa State wide receiver room, including a transfer they get in Jaden Higgins. Should be a pretty solid player for them to help bolster up that wide receiver room. Now, when you take a look elsewhere at this team, especially in the tight end room, this team has had some really good tight ends in the past, and they returned 2 pretty solid ones here as well. Deshaun Hanukkah and Easton Dean are 2 tight ends that were used not as much as some tight ends in Iowa State's past, but they were used fairly well last year. Both of them had over 100 receiving yards, at least 2 receiving touchdowns for the pair, so could be a solid tight end duo for the Cyclones in 2023, but there is good talent on this offense. And on the offensive line, you do lose Zach Ross, but return Daryl Simmons, Jake Remsburg, and Brady Peterson all come back to this offensive line. Now, defensively, what can we expect for the Cyclone team? Well, it is a Cyclone team that loses a butt-ton of talent. Will McDonald is one of those defensive linemen that were very, very good. In fact, one of the best defensive linemen in the country, and a really, really good option for this Iowa State Cyclone team last year. Will McDonald led the team with 5 sacks, 36 tackles, and had a really good season in 2021 there as well. MJ Anderson's another guy they're going to be missing, 37 tackles, 3.5 sacks for him last year. And then Blake Peterson, another guy that is going to be leaving that defensive line. When you take a look at who comes back, well, Isaiah Lee will be coming back, 22 tackles for him last year. Joey Peterson is coming back to that defensive line, as well as Tyler Onyedem. Probably pronounced that last name wrong, so again, I apologize. But there's a lot of talent leaving that defensive line. Holes got to be filled on the defensive line this year. In the linebacker position, well, again, there are still some big pieces gone. O'Rain Vance had 62 tackles. That was 3rd on the team, 3.5 sacks. You lose him. That's a big piece. Colby Reeder was good for this team as well. Tied for the team lead with 2 interceptions, 38 tackles, 1.5 sacks for him. Kendall Jackson, another name that leaves as well. But Gary Vaughn was your leading tackler, 71 tackles, 1.5 sacks. He comes back. Will McLaughlin will also come back to bolster this linebacker core, and you get a transfer coming over. Ignore the X, it's supposed to be a C. My sincerest apologies for the typo. But Zachary Lovett's a 3-star rated transfer coming over from Missouri. And then the defensive back room, Anthony Johnson was your 4th leading tackler, also tied for that team lead with 2 interceptions, is gone, as well as Tavon Kyle. 2 pretty good options in the secondary last season. However, there is a lot back in the secondary. Bo Frailer, again, another typo, should be F-R-E, not F-E-R. Bo Frailer does come back, 68 tackles, an interception for him. TJ Tampa will come back, led the team with 9 passes defended. Miles Purchase and Jeremiah Cooper, amongst some other names I could have thrown on there as well. This Iowa State team has got the roster to break back into the postseason. They got to win some close games this year to do it. Your head coach is Matt Campbell. Offensive coordinator is Nate Shielhaas. Defensive coordinator John Heacock. As we take a look at the Cyclones' 2023 football schedule, any game at home is underlined, and any game on the road will be in italics or the slanted text. Any game you see in green will be a game where I think the Cyclones win easily. Any game in yellow is a game where, hey, the other team is going to push and fight, but the Cyclones will still be able to win. And red is a loss. So let's predict the Cyclones in 2023. Lost a lot of close games last year. Will that be the same story in 2023? Well, we'll find out here. I do believe they're going to beat Northern Iowa to start out the season, and then it's the battle for the Cy-Hawk Trophy against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, the Hawkeyes offense was bad last year. Part of the reason Iowa State was able to take advantage and win that game was because Iowa's offense was just a moot point. This year, I do not see that being the case. I think this Iowa defense is still going to be up to standard, up to code. It's going to be very, very good. And the offense added a lot of pieces through the portal. Cade McNamara, Eric All, some really good wide receivers. Running back room is fine. That really will bolster that Iowa offense tremendously this year. It's going to be nowhere near as bad as it was last year. And I think the Cyclones defense, with all that it lost, is going to be a little bit reeling. Yes, I do think Iowa's going to score some points, and then Iowa defense will slow down this Iowa State offense. So the Hawkeyes reclaim the Cy-Hawk Trophy after Iowa State won it last year. But the Cyclones, apologies to Iowa State fans. Everyone, I'll get heat for that. I'll take it. My sincerest apologies. The Cyclones will beat the Ohio Bobcats on the road there in Week 3. And they will start out the year 2-1 after non-conference play. When you get into conference play, a lot of very interesting games on the slate for Iowa State this year. This is not an easy conference slate. You got to play some really, really good teams, one of which are the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Never count out Coach Gundy, but that team got ravaged by the portal. Spencer Sanders is gone. There's a lot of good talent on defense that is leaving. And while I have good faith in the guys that are back there in that room, offensive skill position-wise, there's some good players. And then defensively, the guys that are waiting in the wings, I think are good players too. But when I take a look at this matchup, I like to favor the Iowa State Cyclones here. I think Hunter Dekkers, Jerome Brock are going to have a good day. That defense should be able to slow down the Oklahoma State Cowboy attack. And the Cyclones pick up their first win in Big 12 play of 2023 However, that quickly comes to a halt as they got to play the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, the Sooners is a team where their defense does need to get better. Yes, that defense has got to get a lot better, but there's too much talent on offense here for Iowa State's defense to be able to handle. You got Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, a lot of good talent in the running back and wide receiver rooms, and the talent is there defensively. It just has to show improvement from where it was last year. When you take a look at this Oklahoma team, I think Iowa State is going to get outmatched, especially defensively. I think Oklahoma's offense is going to be able to do a lot, and they go ahead and win that game, giving Iowa State their second loss of 2023. Then you get a very interesting game coming up here. The game against TCU for this Iowa State team, I think, is a trap game for TCU all the way. I'll flash my prediction up right now. I think Iowa State wins a close one. Iowa State is a team, talking about TCU, the team that loses a lot after it's a Cinderella of Cinderella runs last season. But Max Duggan, Quentin Johnson, their top two leading rushers, D. Winters, Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, so many more players are gone off that team. Now, they did bring in some really good transfers. Chandler Morris is there at quarterback. I think that's still going to be a really good TCU team. I think I'm just calling a little bit of an upset right here. I think Iowa State's going to be able to beat TCU at home, pull off the upset against the Horned Frogs, and move to 4-2 through the first half of the season. However, things do not get easier in this back half. I do think they will beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati's the team that I think is going to struggle this year. That's going to be a Cincinnati team that may not come away with a lot of wins. Now, with Luke Fickell gone, Scott Satterfield comes in, and again, predictably so, a lot of talent leaves that team with Luke Fickell gone. There is still some good pieces there, but I think they lost too much. Iowa State will be really competitive. Life will be a little rough in year one in the Big 12 for Cincinnati. I think the Cyclones win that game. And then you get your bye week. So, hey, look at that. You're sitting 5-2, really good momentum building. However, this is where trouble starts to come in. You lose on the road to Baylor. I think the Bears, with Blake Shapen back, a lot of talent defensively. Yes, they did lose some, but I think they still got a lot of good talent defensively, good players in the skill position groupings on offense as well. That's a Baylor team that I see being able to outpower this Iowa State team, who, again, had their struggles last year. There are reasons they lost a lot of those close games, and with all the talent being gone defensively, I think Baylor's offense is going to be able to take advantage of that, be able to win that game. And then you get the Kansas Jayhawks coming up here. Now, same sort of story with some of the other teams on this board, but or I guess same sort of story I've told with Kansas before. If you cannot contain Jalen Daniels in the pocket, life is going to be very, very hard for you. This was a very close game last year. I think Iowa State's going to want to look to take revenge for what happened last season, and I think they do. Again, being able to contain Jalen Daniels is one thing in this game. That's something they're going to have to do. But defensively, Kansas has got a lot of work to do. I think Iowa State has the pieces offensively to be able to exploit that and punish it. I think they're going to be able to get their 6th win of the year, so 6-3 through 3/4 of the season. But this is a really tough 3-game stretch. You got 2 tough road games, and then you got to play Texas at home. And I think you lose all 3 of them. BYU's a very solid team this year. They're going to be very competitive in the Big 12. Keaton Slovis at quarterback, a lot of good players in the skill position groupings. And there is some good talent leaving that defense. Is a team that did not generate a lot of sacks last year, but overall I like that team defensively. Kalani Sitake has been doing this for a long time. He's coached some very good teams. BYU will be competitive. That's a tough place to play in Provo. Iowa State will lose on the road. They'll also lose to Texas. There's too much offensive firepower there. Enough said about that Texas game. Embarrassment of riches at wide receiver. Quinn Ewers will put on an air show this year. If not, you got 2 other really good quarterbacks awaiting in the wings there as well. So Texas beats Iowa State. And I think the Big 12 champs in Kansas State wins this game or beats the Cyclones as well. Yeah, a lot does leave that team, especially in the secondary. Deuce Vaughn, Malik Knowles on the offensive end, Adrian Martinez as well. But you return Will Howard. There's still a lot of good skill position players. And yeah, some key contributors are gone defensively. But that's going to be a really good Kansas State team that can push for another Big 12 title in 2023 and their 2nd straight. So overall, I do have the Cyclones going back bowling 6-6. I think they can be a lot better of a team than this. I think they got the talent to do so. And I think the difference this year, I think they win a couple of those close games. They'll get back to the postseason. But let me know what you guys think on the Cyclones. That's going to do it for me. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.